Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. A bit of a different video today. It's not so much as me trading live, but it's more I was at work, um, and I spotted a few things in the England versus West Indies game that I thought would translate into a good video, just for a bit of understanding or a bit of practice, really. Um, Obviously, I won't trade unless I am at home. I'm at my desk. I'm at my computer. Um, as I don't have all the software, I don't have all the data that I need. So effectively, what I do like to do sometimes is if I'm not at home, I'll keep an eye on matches, and I would still do a bit of research of what I would do in certain situations in a game. This one I did this, and I have to say it's good for practice, but again, you can also use practice accounts for this as well. If you are at home and you don't feel like you want to stake the money, I know BetAngel do a practice account as well. But yeah, what I like to do sometimes, I like to do some research. I write down what I would do and review it afterwards and say, actually, would I have been right on 2 or 3 trades here? Would one trade have worked? And sort of don't worry about the monetary sort of things. Don't worry about betting money. Just think, if I can say do this for a few weeks, say what I would do in a game, and then could you do it with smaller stakes and sort of improve it? So I'll go through. There's a bit of information. I've got some screenshots from the Betfair graphs and markets, and I'll sort of talk about what I think, really. So yeah, getting into here. So the result of the game was West Indies won. They won by 30 runs with 6 balls to spare. The starting price for England was 1.45. So England were favourites, but obviously the end result of this game were West Indies won. England's lowest price in this game that they traded at was 1.19. So it shows that England were, they started well. They took wickets actually quite early on, which obviously we'll get into next in the next slide. But there were really good swings in this game. And if I'd have been home at my setup trading, I think I would have made a small profit. But again, like I said, I had my plan of I was at work, I had a little look and thought, yes, I would have done this, this and this. So the West Indies power play, they were 55 for 3 after 6 overs. This was the first 3 overs, bowled by Jofra Archer, Sam Curran and Jofra Archer again. So let's look at the graph effectively after the first 6. So we can see here it was a sort of a power play of 2 halves really for the West Indies. The first 2 overs, they had 2 wickets and they had 10 runs on the board. And then all of a sudden they had a quick flurry of boundaries and runs and then another wicket at the end of the power play. Now, what I would have said is these 2 wickets here, there's a strategy which I can go into in another video. I will go into in another video. Is if there's 2 wickets in a power play, I would normally back the team who's just lost the 2 wickets, more of like a reverse psychology thing, because everyone in the market is going to be thinking, oh, they're collapsing, that's it, they're going to be all out for under 100, but that's not generally the case. Or 1 wicket or 2 wicket doesn't spoil a run chase, especially early in the game. You've got to think this is 2 overs into 40 overs of total cricket in the match. So relevant to the game, it's those 2 wickets can. A lot of people can jump and go, oh my God, that's it. We need to back England, lay the West Indies. Where in actual fact, if you look at this graph here, the 2 wickets came down to here, and this is actually a really good buy-in, or even 1.3, which I would say is probably a buy-in. It's getting at 1.3 there, or lay England for 1.3. Yes, it would have gone down to 1.26, 1.25 here, but then slowly you can see over the next 3 overs. They scored a lot of runs very quickly. They got to 50 runs in 5 overs. They're scoring at 10 and over. And especially this over here, obviously, with Jack's bowling and Sam Curran getting hit for a 6 and a 4 in this over, took the price all the way back up above 1.5. Now, looking at a little sort of strategy here, for example, I'd say, right, 1.3, actually, that would be a good lay point, and I'd probably be looking to slowly drip out at 1.35, 1.4, 1.45, and look to be out at 1.5. So that's a good little strategy there, and then obviously above went up to 1.55, 1.56, and then obviously that other wicket happened there, and we come down to sort of here, dot ball, and then this is the end of the power play. Obviously, the end of the power play, a lot of traders like to get in at the end of the power play, so this is generally a good point for people to back. So, and as you can see here, from the end of the power play here, where that dot ball was there, it slowly sort of settled at 1.36 there. You can see here the volume matched here is a lot. There's what, 2 million, 2.5 million here being matched, and you can see that's pulled the price into England because people are thinking, right, West Indies have had a good end of the power play. They've just lost a wicket. And they were backing that England spinners were going to do a good job and take some more wickets. So looking at that, I mean, the strategy for me would have been 2 wickets go, lay England, and then I'd probably look to get out towards the end of the 5th over here. So I would have been sort of out waiting to see how the last over of the power play went, whether it continued of West Indies scoring a lot of runs, or what happened here. Obviously, there was another wicket. So that's how I would have seen that power play go. We sort of go on to the West Indies innings close. So looking at this one, so this was at the end of the innings, England was still favourites, and you can see there's 58 million matched in this market at half time. England is still favourites at 1.73, West Indies 2.36. But the interesting thing of this is the England price over the first innings. So West Indies actually scored 200. In this game. So you look at the graph here. So this was the power play. Obviously, it came back out again as West Indies put on a good partnership, and then it sort of meandered in and sort of came up to 1.6, and we got back up to here towards the end of the innings where West Indies put on quite a good partnership, really. And we can see here, as we said, those were those 2 early power play wickets. There's that partnership in the power play. And then obviously a wicket at the end of the power play, another wicket shortly after, and then a 50 and a 60 partnership. So West Indies, and you can see that, so partnership here. So West Indies did really turn it around and look really good. Obviously, there was 2 quite profitable trades in that one. It would have been, like I said, my early lay at 1.3, and then when England took more wickets again at 1.3, I'd probably look to lay again potentially there to get out at 1.5 again. So I could potentially look at 2 trades there of that would have been simple sort of 15, 20 tick profits, and I probably would have held when it got to here, because I don't think I would have backed Windies, and I don't think I'd have backed England either, just for the fact of they put together good partnerships, and like I say, if you are unsure, you don't need to trade. And I'd look at that and go, actually, I'd probably be unsure because West Indies could really kick on. At that point they were 4 or 5 down, so they were sort of your lower order are coming in, not a firepower, but at the same time England spinners that hadn't been bowling great because they put on some partnerships. So I sort of, in that situation, I'd have probably left it and just taken those 2 trades early in the power play and then slightly after the power play. Obviously, first lay England after 2 wickets at 1.3, looked green at by 1.5. Trade 2, lay England again at 1.3 after wickets, and trade out at 1.5 again. England's price at the half time, so we are going to touch on that one again. So 1.73 was their backing price. So what should I do? Back, lay. Here again at half time, I would have probably waited. Again, I always, I don't like to be in a position over a halfway period unless, for example, there's some market bias where you think maybe the price has come in too far or it's gone out too far. I think this here showed, I think there was market bias in this. I think England were too short. And I thought, roughly, I think 2s would have been a better representation, actually, of the fact that the West Indies had scored a lot of runs, and England's batting frailties are quite sort of high. If I've recently been an England fan, is difficult. But the first 10 overs of England's chase, let's sort of move on to sort of looking at this. So what I would have said with this, I think I would have struggled in this second half, and I can admit that. So this was the first 10 overs of England's batting innings. So as you can see here, this is the first half of the graph here. This was the halfway point. As you remember, it came up and looped around. And England got off to a really good start. Phil Salt went really well. They had really good power play. Got down to sort of here, and then a wicket, and the market sort of held because it thought England had made such a good start that it was going to continue, and it did. There was a couple of boundaries, and then all of a sudden 2 wickets and the price shot up. So this was the first 3 overs, as you can see. Phil Salt has scored quite a lot of runs very quickly in this over here. Smashed Jason Holder for 24 runs. So it was a really good start. You can see that reflected obviously in the graph where England have crashed in from 1.75 all the way down to sort of 1.3. And sort of I would use that 1.3 as a bit of a marker of it's hit 1.3 a few times and it's bounced back up again. Of that seems to be your action point. So all of a sudden you can see, sort of like I said here, it sort of touched down to sort of 1.3 or just above 1.3 and then came under due to the fact there was a wicket there, a few more boundaries, and it came down to here. So we sort of settled just in between, sort of just below 1.3 at the end of the power play. And then England's collapse came. So I'd be unsure because I'd look at this and think, one wicket, England have had a good power play, or they've got 7 wickets, but actually on the research that I can see that on a deteriorating pitch, even with West Indies' struggles with bowling, I was probably have still been a bit tentative to enter, but I'd be erring on the side of laying England here, because it was it's a used wicket and West Indies had 3 spinners. So looking at that, I'd potentially laid here, but the profit would have come very quickly in this for the fact that there was 2 wickets very quickly in those first 2 overs there. Obviously it went 6 wicket, 1-1, 1-1, or 1.16, 1 wicket, and then another wicket. So there, if you'd have held your nerve a little bit, you could have looked at the profit from say 1.3 and it would have gone straight up to 1.7 or to near 2s. Obviously over 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we look at the pricing and it's flipped. So now West Indies are 1.7, England are 2.38 on the drift, with it not looking too good really. Obviously, you can see the price here. It got up to 2.4. So, like I said, if you'd have followed you're back here sort of around 1.3 or laid here, around 1.3, it would have flown up and you'd be in some quite sort of tiny profit here, up at the 2.4 region. A recovery. So we're having a little look. There was a nice little partnership in the middle for England here. As you can see, they come up and touched 2.4. Had a really good sort of recovery, but I think at this point again, I'd be very unsure, very tentative to go back in unless I saw some clear signals or I knew that a lower order batsman for England was in form, due to the fact that it's so volatile the last sort of 10 overs of a T20 match, especially if a team's chasing. One ball can be a 6 or a wicket, and it can wipe out all your profit. So it's about sort of being cautious, being a bit careful. You can see it sort of got down to again into the realms of 1.5, but no, it came in, and all of a sudden more wickets, and England then shoot out to 4.55. And or 6.6 even, and Windies are now odds-on favourite. There's 113 million matched. It's a very, very lucrative market for being able to get in and out, and that's why you can use sort of bigger stakes obviously when you're more confident. But it's just spotting these little things, even when you don't get in the market, or even when you're looking to watch a game from a distance, you can learn so much just from watching and thinking, what would I have done here? Would I have done this? Or you can say to yourself out loud, I would lay here, I would back here, and go, okay, I was right, or okay, I was wrong, right. Why was that? Why did it go out? What was I not seeing? Was it the pitch condition? Was it that, I don't know, West Indies had a spinner that England had never seen before, or mystery spin? It's just little things like that you can learn over time without the financial worry of sitting on a market and placing bets or trades, and having the liabilities or worrying about losing the stakes. You can do it just from afar to start with, to learn the market. And like I said earlier, there's the Bet Angel sort of practice modes again are really good for this. Of if you don't want to start with sort of putting trades in the market with money, or you want to use the practice accounts, they are good for that, because it can get you used to or numb to sort of £10 on a practice account or £15, or slowly build your confidence. So when you come on to use small stakes or £2, £5, £10 stakes, you can confidently say, right, I've seen this before, I can do this on the practice account, and have the confidence to do it. So thank you for watching. That was just my takes on that game. Obviously I will say, I do find it quite tricky to trade, obviously, England markets and some markets due to the emotional factor. But again, that's a video for another day that we can cover. But no, thank you for watching, and I hope this was slightly useful for you. Any questions, please add it into the comment section, and then hopefully this will shed a bit of light on just a little bit of analysis on something that not doing it live, but it can give you a bit of an idea of what you can look for in markets, even if you're not at your trading setup, or even if you just want to keep an eye on a market or look at the graphs and think this is what I would have done. It can help you in the long run of just getting a little bit of experience of stepping back and watching from a distance. So thank you for watching.